After you've created a pivot table with the fields arranged to give you the data arrangement that you want, you can modify the pivot table to rearrange your data dynamically. That process is called pivoting, and in this movie, I will show you how to pivot your data to get exactly the result that you want. I will use the pivoting sample file, which you can find in the Chapter 1 folder of your exercise files archive. Let's take a quick look at the pivot table that's already in this workbook. It counts the number of customers that were added by a company in quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the calendar years 2012 and 2013. But let's say that I want to rearrange the data, for example, by having the year and then each quarter within the year laid out vertically. To do that, I can drag the quarter field from the columns area below year in the rows area. Doing so changes the arrangement of the pivot table. So now I still have the years 2012 and 2013, but now I have the quarters, instead of being laid out horizontally as column headers, they're also laid out vertically under rows. Now let's say that I wanted to compare quarters between 2012 and 2013. So in other words, I want to have quarter 1 of 2012 adjacent to quarter 1 of 2013 instead of separated into different years. To do that, I can drag the year field header in the rows area below quarter. So I'll just click and drag it below quarter, and you can probably see a green line that indicates where year will end up when I release the left mouse button. So I'll do that, and you can see that the arrangement of the pivot table changed. Now I have quarter 1 of 2012 and 2013, quarter 2, 3, and 4 follow the same arrangement. I can also add fields that are available in the original data to the pivot table even though they're not currently displayed. If you look again in the pivot table fields pane, you'll see that year, quarter, and customers all have check marks in their boxes, but region is not checked. It's also not highlighted in bold. That means that the region field, which does exist in the original data, I'll click the Sheet 1 Sheet tab, and you see that I have a region column, and I'll go back to Sheet 2. So the data is available, but it doesn't appear inside of the pivot table at the moment. Let's say that I want to add region to the columns area. To do that, I just drag the region field header from the fields area down to the columns area. And now I have my data for north, south, east, and west, again broken down by quarter and by year. If I wanted, I could also drag the region field header below year in the rows area. So then I'd see quarter 1 for 2012, and then each of the regions, and then quarter 1 for 2013, and so on. Or if I wanted to, I could drag year above quarter in the rows area and rearrange the pivot table that way. So once again, pivoting a pivot table lets you change the order and structure of the headers within the pivot table to emphasize the aspects of the data that are most important to you. Don't be afraid to experiment, because you can always press Ctrl-Z to go back and undo whatever change you just made.